One of the greatest stories of all time is the Roswell UFO crash 1947. And I have two videos that give you a lot of details about what really happened. In the UFO community, there's some pretty brilliant minds, and they have ascertained by looking at all the evidence that it was actually not a UFO crash. It was what is being called an alien assist. This is when an advanced civilization bestows its own technology to a civilization of lesser technological sophistication. And it's done in a staged way, like a UFO crash. This is precisely what happened in 1947, except for the fact it wasn't UFOs from space. This was an assist from a race in the underworld that wanted to give us a quantum leap in technical sophistication. They gave us materials in hardware that we then were able to retro engineer and basically create a whole new element to our military industrial complex. This happened in 1947, and you were told that all these alien objects and artifacts were trucked in a convoy to Hangar 18 at Area 51, and every bit of that was smoke and mirrors. It's untrue. The convoy that left that area and went there was a decoy. It was a total decoy. Oppenheimer was on the other convoy, which was not a decoy. That convoy took those materials to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, retro engineering labs of the U.S. Air Force. That's the real story of what happened. This is another data point. I'm not going to get into all the details of that. It's on my channel. But this is another data point that there has been materials that were exchanged between the underworld and the surface world. Many of you know about the Hopi. The Hopi believed in the ant people. It was a race that was antecedent to them, a sophisticated people. They were called ant people, not because they were small. They were called ant people because they were industrious in their infrastructure. They were very busy. A sedentary race of a nomadic type people. I know it's kind of oxymoronic, but the Hopi, if they had come in contact with people today, if they went 200 years in the future, 200 years ago, and saw our infrastructure today, they would be overwhelmed with the speed by which we do everything. Cars zipping out and in and out of traffic. They would be totally overwhelmed. Jets passing across the sky. Yeah, even people on bicycles would be an anomaly. They're moving too fast. These people didn't move that fast. The ant people are a recollection of a very industrious people with long paths and long roads. What are ants known for? Being on a path, moving very fast, carrying a lot of stuff. So the ant people disappeared, according to the Hopi, and went into the underground where they remain today. That's an old Hopi tradition. So the underworld in ancient Egypt, you could get to it, although it was very difficult. You had to go to Giza, because somewhere located at Giza was a way to go all the way underneath the plateau, maybe through a labyrinth. But once you got there, you would come across a place called the Kingdom of Seeker. And once you went in, you could not come out unless you found the Gate of Rostal. If you could locate the Gate of Rostal and pass through it, you could be free. But that freedom meant you entered the underworld. Because once you went through the Kingdom of Seeker, there was no coming back this way. So this is just another data point that there is an ancient belief that the underworld was not only inhabited, but it was accessible. Now, adding in support of that data point are two traditions that are very unique. One of those traditions comes out of the book of Tobit, where a demon, I believe it was Asmodeus or Asmodeus's helpers, they were threatened with exorcism, and they were so terrified that this angel was going to exorcise them, they fled to the only place they could be safe from being cast into the abyss or wherever it was. And the text specifically says the demons fled to Egypt to escape the angel. That's a data point, but it's supported by ancient Greek legends, which say that in the old time of the Titans, when Typhon appeared, the gods fled to Egypt to be safe. Again, we have reference to going to the Great Pyramid area to be safe from a cataclysm or safe from something. Remember, Typhon is the exact same thing as the phoenix. So, now, this concept of the surface world in the underworld was also recognized among the early Norse and the Europeans. You guys know that heaven, the realm of the gods, was called Asgard. Where we're at right now, the earth is Midgard, but below us is Niflheim. And Niflheim was occupied. It's the underworld. It is the realm of the dark elves. What's a loud engine? Oh, it's a loud engine.
That's who I keep thinking is you every time it goes by.
Yes, yeah. I don't throttle in the neighborhood. I try to get out in the neighborhood before I do that. Anyway, sorry guys, motorcycles just take me away. Take me away. So, all these are just data points before I actually begin my little dissertation. I just want to remind most of my Archaics veterans here, you already know all these things. You already seen my videos. For the newer people, I just wanted them to be aware that these are things that are on the table. These are data points that are all supported by data sets. You got to see those in the videos. But for purposes of this presentation, I wanted to remind you about all these things we've already covered about the underworld. And remember the book of Revelation. It has imagery in the book of Revelation after the 7 seals are broken and the tribulation actually begins. There's an invasion that comes from the deep, the underworld. It's perfectly described in the book of Revelation. They're even described as locusts, but they're not locusts because they're called locusts, but they're described as human. They got human faces, and then it describes all their chitinous armor. So whoever they are, they're humanoid, but they're wearing some really unusual, bizarre, like maybe military suits or something. And the book of Revelation calls them locusts because what are locusts? Locusts are the destroyers of the harvest. What is humanity? Humanity is the harvest. Remember, it's all about the wheat and the tares. So, let's see. Okay, the book of Revelation, though, it's not unique. Mayan prophecy, too, at the end of the 1,872,000 turnings of the stars, the 13 Bactans, at the end of that, which you know is 2020. Man, I'm getting tongue-tied. Which you know of as not being 2012. As I showed in my published book in 2011, the corrected math shows that the end of the long count is 2046. This is during the tribulation apocalypse period. So it comports with the book of Revelation. So we have here a need to drink some coffee before I continue. Y'all like my shirt? That's so good.